Today we're going to react to a video from Chad O. Jackson, the producer of Uncle Tom 2. He actually started Uncle Tom 1, and he will also be releasing Uncle Tom 3 at some point in the future, and it will be about MLK. It will be about him and his legacy and how the last film, Uncle Tom 2, ended. In fact, they're going to do an extension of that particular film to give it up to speed in terms of what the narrative was about MLK and why we have been pretty much misled, I'll put it that way, about his legacy and what he was trying to do, his agenda, and even his faith. So yesterday, Chad put out this video. It was really good. It's called MLK is No Hero. Here's the thumbnail to that particular video. And I took it and broke up a couple parts in here, about 2 minutes each, that I'm going to react to. They're really good. They're really impactful. And I wanted to actually give it so that people can actually talk about something like this for someone who is so iconic in our society. And they mentioned that as well in these clips. This video here is one we did about 4 years ago. This is MLK was a social conservative. Now, I was wondering 4 years ago why I was able to get so much negative feedback on this even 4 years ago. They're saying, well, he was a Marxist and he was this and that. But the video, and I was privy to that, I kind of knew what I guess his philosophical belief system was. But when it came to being a social conservative, he was absolutely that. So, that being said, this particular video right here is with Delano Squires, and this is a video that came out back in August, and this is Chad O. Jackson talking to this gentleman here, and I'm going to read this part of it for you. It says here that Chad O. Jackson makes the case that MLK was a Marxist political activist who disingenuously used his pastoral role as a tactic of social subversion. Delano Squires, this guy right here to the left, advocates for a more nuanced view of MLK's complicated legacy, suggesting that even the founding fathers were not the unblemished heroes many make them out to be. What say you? And so I recommend that you check out this video first. And there's another video that he did within the past few days. It's this one here. It's one of his podcasts where this particular one was dealing with Black culture and why they can't resist race hoaxes. This is really good too. The subject of King comes up as well in terms of the myth and the lore. And so with that in mind, guys, watch this video with open mind, but also more importantly, go out to Chad's page, his YouTube channel. I'll put all the links here below for those 3 videos. This one, the one with Delano Squires, and the live stream where you can take it for yourself and listen to it. But here I'm going to give you these 2 video clips and I'm going to react to them as they are, and I'd like to know your feedback on this because I'm sure there will be some really good discussion on this. Let's go.
Symbol must come down.
When conservatives are trying to stave off the left as they come for George Washington and Thomas Jefferson, their sort of defense will be, well, at that time period, everybody owned slaves, and we're the first country to abolish slavery, and, you know, these types of things.
The American Revolution caused people to question slavery. That birthed abolition movements.
I was very offended for him to say that nobody criticized slavery until the slave-holding American founding fathers decided to raise it. Disqualifies 200.
When progressives raise the slave-holding legacy of our founding fathers to conservatives, the conservative response is generally, these are men of their times and they have to be understood as such. But some of the same conservatives will turn around and indict King and say his views are so incompatible with the American founder and our principles that we should reconsider the extent to which we lionize him.
So my take on this is, and you saw, you know, the progressives have their position on this. My position is always through a biblical framework, which is why I like Chad O. Jackson, because he is doing the same thing. If you look at the world through the framework of a biblical worldview, then you have to come to the conclusions that we come to. And that is that, of course, these people were flawed. But my position is, especially on the founding fathers, is that they put in place a system in which individual liberties upheld and given by God is paramount, because without that, you don't have the abolition of slavery. Did a video yesterday on the slave trade and how Great Britain and America, mostly whites, were the ones responsible for ending slavery in the West. But when it comes to the indictment of King, listen to what they have to say after that.
The whole reason that we even lionize or popularize someone like a Martin Luther King, who, by the way, was an all-out Marxist, who didn't believe in God. He said so in his own papers, that he did not believe in the resurrection of the Christ. That's very strange for someone who professes to be a Christian pastor. He didn't write any of his speeches. His dissertation was plagiarized. Those in his inner circle, his speechwriters, were themselves communists. Stanley Levison was a treasurer for a communist front group in New York. Bayard Rustin was a communist. He's the one who taught Martin Luther King the strategy of nonviolence. He was a concoction.
To me, it's logically inconsistent to say that the slave master should be given due deference and have his positions analyzed with a sense of nuance. But the commie is once and for all and forever will be outside of the bounds of any type of respect and honor in terms of our political history.
Now, I respect Chad Jackson for having this gentleman on his show and talking about it, having a debate, because I watched this and I was really just really challenged in everything. And it goes back really to Thomas Jefferson and Adams, and you look at Hamilton, you look at Aaron Burr, you look at just the philosophical differences that the founding fathers had were varying. And to indict someone because they have a Marxist leaning, because today we look at commies as bad, I mean really bad, I can see what they're saying from his standpoint. But then again, from Chad's standpoint, the fact that he denied the resurrection of Christ, which I found extremely shocking, which is right there in his own writings, is something that you have to take into consideration and take it under evaluation as well.
I can certainly more so understand why a Southern Baptist preacher who is maybe 2 generations removed from slavery will be in favor of Marxism than I can the co-founders of BLM in 2016. I'm not saying I agree with King's economic philosophy, but I understand why he would have it.
Well,
now see, that's a very fair statement. I think he's dead on the money there, and that's a good point of discussion. Let's go to the second video here, and this is about a minute and a half. Check this out.
so you can democratize social issues, and you can, in a sense, pull up the heartstrings of America. They will then let their guard down and they will democratize socialism into reality. And so I don't see Martin Luther King fighting against that. I see Martin Luther King as a participant in that, which is a subversive thing.
It seems to me that the civil rights movement must now begin to organize for the guaranteed annual income.
Guaranteed annual income. Wow. And I'll tell you, this is something they don't show you much in school. So that's why Uncle Tom 2 is so powerful. Check that film out. In fact, they're going to do an extension, a director's cut. And in that particular cut, when it comes out, we'll be advertising it. Check it out. And then I'm just looking forward to this, because this whole thing here is a big deal in terms of culture. And we have to identify the truths of what the civil rights movement was about, what King was about, and then bring it into its proper perspective from a godly framework, a godly biblical worldview framework, I would say, before we can have any true healing and redemption in this country. That's just my opinion.
The question arises, well, what other options did he have? Well, for me, I think one of the reasons why there's such a mental block for people is because we've all went to the same schools. We all graduated from the same schools. We all read the same textbooks. You know, we all understand how MLK was this good moral leader who came to, in a sense, deconstruct the way things were. And there was no one else. No one else knew how to do it. But Martin Luther King, here's a guy who got it. And he was a Christian pastor, and he was all these things. Much of what we have learned about him turned out to be either false or inaccurate, or, you know, a myth or what have you.
So there you have it. What do you think? What's your thoughts on this? And for me personally, I am someone who's come from a long way from the left as a leftist, black nationalist activist in college to where I am today. It's a long haul, but the only way I was able to get to that position was by actually looking at the truth, analyzing it, and putting it against the worldview that I believe 100% is accurate, and that's a biblical framework in which God created the world in 6 days, rested on 7. Man fell. In between there to now, Christ came down to redeem his own, and we are to live for him, and we are to promote the truth, and that includes sharing the gospel. What are your thoughts on this? I'd be curious to know what you think. Like and subscribe in this video, and thank you, Chad Jackson, for that wonderful video that you put out It's great. Go check it out, guys, and I'll see you in the next video.